Would you believe there was a full-size truck with a 4-cylinder engine that's gas? Well, it's right behind me. This is the all-new 2019 Chevy Silverado with a 2.7 turbocharged gas engine. It's a high-tech piece of engineering that blurs the lines between gasoline and diesel power. In this video, you'll get an in-depth look at the engine, the truck in general, all the features and pricing. Driving impressions are embargoed until November 19th, so you'll have to come back next week for a comparison review between this truck and also base trucks from Ford and Ram. Well, let's get going. Let's get under the hood. Chevrolet surprised everybody when they announced they're going to sell a half-ton truck, the Silverado, with a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. But the rating on this engine is 310 horsepower and 348 pound-feet of torque. That's available starting at 1500 RPM. And that sounds like turbo diesel territory to me. This engine is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. This particular truck is a quad cab, which is basically an extended cab with a longer bed, and it's a 4x4 with a 342 rear end. If you got a two-wheel drive truck, your fuel economy on the highway would be at 23 according to the EPA. If you got the 4x4 like this truck, the highway number is at 22. That doesn't sound like that great of an economy number, but we'll have to do more testing in the real world in Colorado, including the iGauntlet, to find out exactly how much power this engine delivers and also how efficient it is in the real world.
Our water pump, our electric water pump, it's a brushless DC motor. So this can run all the way down to 0 RPM up to its peak speed, controlled off the ECM. So it's controlling to an engine coolant temperature. So varying, and what's neat about the electric water pump is it's not connected to the crankshaft, which allows us to either cool more or cool less, perfectly on demand for what the engine's require.
Okay.
Makes sense. So then, active thermal management, as you had asked, what we do is we have exhaust gas heat recovery. So this is our integrated exhaust manifold in the head, and you can see we're taking water literally right off the exhaust. We pipe this hot water around to the coolant control valve. Unfortunately, we've got a cutaway here, but the hot water comes, it connects into here, and then we have rotary valves that you can see that rotate back and forth. Pretty simple device. It's effectively like if you went to Home Depot and you had just a plastic rotary valve. Okay. Just think of a bunch of them put together, and then depending on where we position, we can take hot water and pipe it to the engine oil cooler, as well as right behind it there's a transmission oil cooler. So then we take this hot water, that's exhaust gas heat recovery, we heat the oil in both the engine and the transmission. What that means to the customer is, so if you went on a long trip, you tend to get really good fuel economy, right? And that's because everything's nice and hot and saturated to what it wants to run at, so it gets the friction down. What this allows us to do is get to that point really quickly.
Or vice versa, right? If you're running hot in the summer, can you kind of bring or cool the temperatures down?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
So it's a really good question. So this valve, when everything's cold, we're heating.
Okay.
When everything's hot, we just switch it to a different position and we start to cool. And that electric water pump allows us again to overcool, which helps from a durability perspective.
Okay.
Right? If you're idling, the water pump doesn't provide much flow on a typical mechanically driven water pump.
Sure.
This can run full flow. Basically what you could do at high engine speed on a regular engine, we can do that at idle to get everything back down to a perfect coolant temperature. The turbocharger gives this engine its great low end torque.
We kind of want to see this. This is the dual volute.
So this is the dual volute. What that means is we have exhaust flows. We'll go to the next slide to look at side by side, but what we do is we couple the outer cylinders and the inner cylinders. We keep them completely separated, and then we end up hitting the turbo at 180 degrees separation. And what that does is it keeps the flows completely segregated, and you get the maximum pressure differential to get the turbo to be extremely efficient for that great low-end torque that our customers desire.
The LT here has the latest infotainment system from Chevrolet. You have shortcuts on the bottom here. It is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto enabled. You have your trailering apps here where you could do a checklist, and you can try your trailer lights if they're connected. Then Wi-Fi is obviously available here. OnStar capability, and this one doesn't have navigation. Here's the camera. I wish the camera was a little bit more high resolution. It's not that great in this case. But for navigation, you can actually call an advisor, and they could walk you or send directions to your center unit here, so you could find the place you're looking for. Down here in this LT, you could operate the rear tailgate inside here, and if you're in park, the tailgate will come down. If you're in drive, this button is basically disabled. There's your auto start stop disable button. Parking sensors, that's pretty handy, traction control, and this button does all of the windows. One touch, all 4 windows come down, but you cannot raise them again. You actually have to do door switches to raise the windows. Over here in the visor, that's a huge mirror, but there's no light, it's not lit up, so at night it might be an issue. This model also has heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Check this out over here. Here's the steering wheel. You have USB-C and USB charge ports. You have a 12 volt, and we have a couple of empty spots here as well. We don't have every option, obviously. This is an LT. Well, back in the day, LT used to be a luxury trim package on the Silverado, but not anymore. It's more middle of the road. You have cloth seats in this case, but 6-person seating. So this is a great option. You have a console here full of cup holders and little cubbies and some storage over here. But very quickly it can turn into a 6-person configuration. There's a storage underneath here as well. Very, very handy. I love this. But I want to see if I can fit in the back seat. Okay, I'm gonna try to sit behind myself. I'm 6'2". This is a quad cab. Okay, so my knees are hitting the seat in front of me, but I have a lot of headroom here. There's a scalloped ceiling, so that helps me quite a lot. And actually, I could spend some time here. This is not too bad. There's a little bit of an angle to the seat, so I don't feel like I'm really sitting straight up. So I could actually go on a decent drive. By the way, in this quad cab, you still have your vents down here, including charger ports. So it's really nice to see that rear passengers also get some comfort. This is almost a flat floor. There's a little hump, but a lot of storage, and you can get an optional storage box underneath here. Here's a challenge. From the outside, can you tell that this is a turbocharged Silverado versus a V8 Silverado or any other engine? No, you won't find that. There's no turbocharged badges, there's no boosted badging anywhere on the outside. The exhaust pipe looks very normal. So Chevrolet is not going to tell you what engine is under the hood in this particular model. For this LT, I'm not a fan of chrome. If it was me, I would go for an RST, which has a more monochromatic look, which means painted mirrors and grille. That's kind of my bag. So what's the competition like for the Turbo Silverado? Well, this question is actually a little bit complicated because when next year rolls around, 2019, Silverado is going to have up to 6 engine transmission combinations, including the diesel. Ford also have 6 different engines available. Ram has 3, and on and on and on. But Chevrolet says that the turbocharged version of the Silverado competes against more of the base engines for the others. For example, the 3.3 liter naturally aspirated V6 in the F-150, or the 3.6 liter Pentastar e-torque in the Ram. Of course, Titan and the Tundra both have V8 engines, and those are much more powerful. But as far as base motors are concerned, the 348 pound-feet of torque in this one puts it more in the top of the power bracket. I know what you might be thinking. Does the turbocharged Silverado have enough power? Is it going to be reliable over the long term? And I actually asked those questions to the Chevrolet engineering team, and this is what they said. I think people out there need to drive this engine to see how much power it has, but I think a lot of people are also wondering, is it going to be reliable in the long term? What kind of development and validation did you do?
Yeah, we did, like the first firing that I talked about, it went through all the truck durability paces that our V8s do, our diesels do, our 4.3 liter 6-cylinder does.
Mm-hmm.
It went through all of those, just as where it was going to be put into a truck engine. Went through all of those, the hundreds of thousands of miles that we put on them. You know, we talk about how many miles we have on the architecture right now. Not all of them in just the 2.7, but as an architecture, we have over 5 million miles on the road right now. With what we've done with the early driving. So, you know, again, a truck engine from the beginning and truck engine tested all the way through.
You can kind of see the dyno here.
The engine's mounted like this, and you can see we're tilting it side to side, forward and aft, and that's effectively what you can do in a vehicle. Hygiene maneuvers, making sure that all the lubrication system works right, the greenbacks, you're not doing any oil starvation. So, very, very important test. Full load it's running. You can see how hot the exhaust is getting. You can see the exhaust is actually
right
glowing.
There. I see it.
Yeah, you can see it there, but closer to the turbo, you can see the exhaust is glowing.
So how much does this truck cost? Well, the LT quad cab two-wheel drive starts at $38,395. Then, if you wanted an RST version, not an LT, you would pay $1,900 more, and the RST is more of a sporty trim, and it gets 20-inch rims versus the 17s you see on this LT. Then, if you wanted a full crew cab with a regular bed, longer bed option, 4x4 RST, basically a fully loaded turbo truck, still with a 2.7 liter engine, that price goes up to $46,295. So that's the range, about 38 to 46. And of course you can add a few more options on top of those, but that's basically what you're talking about as far as this truck. So are turbo trucks the future? Well, it just depends on what you need. It's not an end-all solution, obviously, for every half-ton truck customer, because for about $1,400 more, you can get a V8 instead of a Turbo 4 in an LT truck. And if you need to tow, the V8 engine is going to be better. Your tow ratings go up, and you can tow up to 9,300 pounds or more. If you don't tow a lot, for example, under 7,000 pounds, but you want more payload capability, you can get one of these trucks. It'll be fairly economical and also be able to haul a lot of weight inside the truck as well. Chevrolet says when you compare this new truck with a turbo 4-cylinder against the old generation truck with a V6, this truck is 1 second quicker to 60, and also this truck weighs about 380 pounds less because it does have an aluminum hood, aluminum doors, and a tailgate. Let's test the turning radius. Okay, boom, there we go, we did it.
Yeah, same as the current truck with 4-inch longer wheelbase.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we were able to, when we re-architected the vehicle, move the wheels forward 2 inches, moved them back 2 inches. We went to a high arm front suspension, and we were able to get the articulation. We knew we wanted the turn circle to be as good or better than the current truck.
I was just looking at this, this is a standard bed.
Yes.
It's, I mean, looking at how wide it is, right? You push the inner walls out.
Yeah, about darn near 7 inches wide, or 6 3/4 to be exact. And something that I was able to show you how we constructed it, and we spent really good money there to make sure that it was a great value for our customers. When we clinicked this, when we took it out to clinic, whether it was in Dallas, whether it was in LA, we also went to Colorado. It's one of the highest rated items we've ever had. Not just in boxes, but in anything that we've taken to clinic and rated, with the 3 tie downs, better tie downs per corner,
right?
And then 9 more, so there's 21. Our standard, or our short box, has more volume than our competitor's standard box. And the other cool thing, the proof point with that, is when the engineers got their trucks and they went out and got a couple yards of mulch, they would send me pictures and thank me for not having to dig down through the mulch to get a cover on it to tie it down.
Yeah, because there are 3 of them on top.
Yeah, it's just one thing the customers really loved about it, with that choice.
Every new Silverado comes with this handy sticker inside the driver door jamb that tells you all the weight ratings for this truck. 7,000 pounds gross vehicle weight up here, but the tongue weight of 670 shows us that this truck is capable of towing up to 6,700 pounds, because tongue weight is about 10% of your trailer weight. If you had a 2-wheel drive truck, the Turbo Silverado is rated to tow about or up to 7,200 pounds. But take a look down here. The payload sticker, 2,011 pounds. This is a great number for a half-ton truck, especially a 4-wheel drive. Over 2,000 pounds, that means you can carry that trailer weight with a tongue weight and still have a truck full of people or cargo as well. That's really good. And the 2019 Silverado with a turbo engine is arriving at dealerships right now, so you can go and check it out. When the rubber meets the road, you want a truck that's a good value, and at just under $45,000 for this LT quad cab 4x4, I think this truck has value. It has quite a bit of horsepower and torque. It has driver assistance features, it has a good infotainment system, and it has seating for 6. What else could you want in a half-ton truck? Let me know what you think about the Turbo Silverado, and go back to tfltruck.com for more news, views, and real-world reviews.